And we're on. Welcome back to the Dad's Beer Club podcast. Tonight, we are joined by the third member of the infamous Chill Out Corner. Marcell, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. I wasn't expecting that, to be fair. That intro there, yeah. Chill Out Corner. Wow. Blast from the past.
Marcell, same thing to do with everybody, mate. What's your tipple for the evening?
A little Corona Extra, a little bit of lime.
Nice.
Little swill.
I'm stuck on a little pint of Coors Light.
Nice. Cheers to us.
Cheers, mate. Shame we can't do it in person, but this is the reality now, I guess, for the next. Who knows?
To be fair, mate, it's probably safer we're not doing it in person after the last time.
Yeah. Jesus. Look, Marcel, let's get straight into it, mate. What we normally do, let's go right back to the very beginning, mate, and talk about sort of family life, upbringing. What was your dad like? That sort of stuff, mate.
Yeah, of course. So upbringing, what can I say? A little bit disjointed. I think you'll get that when I explain my childhood. So never knew my dad. So never had a father in my life. So didn't know him. Brought up by a single mum. My mum was white as well. So a mixed race kid brought up with a white mum was, I guess, at the time unique, but I didn't feel it. What was quite unique was the way she still instilled our culture on me, as a white woman. So growing up, I lived in a truly ethnical, diverse population. There was, Asian folks, black folks, white folks, Southeast Asian folks. It was really mixed. And then it was a bit of a tough period in my life because unfortunately some, let's say just unforeseen circumstances occurred where I was actually taken away from my mum for a period and went into sort of temporary accommodation with a sort of distant family relative for 4 years, which was tough because I moved out of the kind of diverse nature of family that I was used to and population to a literally an all white population where they were telling me that I couldn't use words that I'd been brought up using, such as "you're right, man," yeah, that's bad, all these kind of things. I was having to change my language and being involved in lots of fights because I was different, so that was really challenging growing up.
How old are you there, Marcel?
9. And I kind of quickly grew up to be like a little fighter. I was constantly having little scraps and kind of the guy that used to be bullied to the point of I was like, I'm not standing for this, and would just then not be the bullier, but just make sure that people wouldn't beat the crap out of me, for nothing. So yeah, that was challenging. And then got to fast forward to middle of year 7, moved back with my mum, but out of that environment and moved into Tadcaster in Yorkshire. Again, very at the time, literally an all-white town, right? So went to this school, Tadcaster Grammar School, and I think there was only me and another girl that were of any colour, and that was challenging, and again, typical stereotypes and what have you. And I actually got suspended in year 9 because a lad on the street had called me the N-word, so I got in a fight with him. And what was really funny with that was it kind of had a little bit of an argument in the street, but it rolled into school. My mate was having a fight with him and I got involved. Those two got suspended for 3 days and I got suspended for 5. Wild, but there you go. But then, just managed to get through school and all that. And at the time as well, my mum had found a new partner. So I kind of had a stepdad in my life then, which was nice because that was new. That lasted up until I was 25, I want to say, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I think I just graduated from uni and then they started going through a divorce. So back just to me and mum again now as I'm an adult. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Usual education, got GCSEs, wasn't expected to get any, ended up getting A's to C, then stayed in sixth form. Wanted to be a fireman, but stayed in sixth form because I couldn't get into the fire brigade until I was 18. But during that time, I was being a part-time firefighter at an airfield, which was amazing, by the way. Getting to wear a fireman's uniform, try and pick up girls at 17 years old, pretending not to be a firefighter.
Yeah. not saving lives, picking up girls.
Yeah, just because I used to be able to borrow the jacket and just leave it in the boot of my car. So I just think I'm going, oh, this proper old rackety jacket. But yeah, that was pretty good. But then I got the option to go to uni because I got some good A levels again unexpectedly. So went to uni, didn't have a clue what I was doing. Picked the wrong course to begin with, then picked digital marketing, and then somehow managed to get a 2-1 at the end of it. So that was good. I was supposed to go in the fire brigade at that point, but David Cameron got into power, and we all know what happened then with public services. So I had to pick an alternate route, and this is where I am now today from that.
Marcell, you mentioned you didn't have a dad growing up. Do you not know of him, or do you know any of that? Or
yeah, I do. So interesting. Like you're opening up a nice little box of worms here, like Pandora's box, which is good because this is all relatively new information as well. So never knew my dad growing up. I knew of him, and I'd heard his name here or there. And then I think it was, and if my sisters watch this, so again, here you go, that's a new bit of information. I have sisters. So, but if they hear this, if they see this, they'll be like, how do you not know the date? It's just because it's never been a date that's been synonymous with my life. But I remember getting a phone call, I think it was like 2013, 12 or 13, finding out that he had passed away. And again, at that point in time, it didn't really mean anything to me because I didn't know the guy, right? So
yeah,
it was at the time it was a little bit like I never got to meet my dad, but I can't miss what I've not had, right? So so he passed away with cancer, and then more recently, my granddad, so I think it was his dad, had passed away, which then subsequently led to a series of events whereby I think I was mentioned in a will, which triggered my sisters to search me out. So they always knew my name, but they never knew my surname. And my surname, coincidentally, is the same as theirs. So they never thought to search Marcell Edwards. So it was funny because my mum's friend still lives in that kind of world. They don't speak it, but it was like an old school friend. So he managed to get in contact with my mum. My mum got in contact with me, said, "Do you want to actually introduce yourselves, etc." And yeah, it was last year, what was it? October last year, I think it was October last year that I actually we met up. So they live in Bristol, so we met up in Birmingham, and I found out loads of stuff about that. I think there's 11 siblings in total, but
what, brothers and sisters for you?
Brothers and sisters, yeah. So, but they're all spread out. Like my dad was like a playboy, mate. From the sounds of it, he was literally like an absolute
top shagger,
mate. Honestly, TS title, like you can't describe it. But yeah, 11 siblings. I think there's one that's the same age as Poppy, which my daughter, which is incredible. Yeah. But my sisters, there's one that's 9 months older than me. So clearly he was doing bits with my mum and her mum at the same time. Yeah. And then her sister, so the ones I actually speak to, she's older. So again, various ages across pretty much a decade, I'd say. So that was nice because I speak to them still now, and I want to build up a relationship with those two. So really, really, really positive outcome from that.
I suppose growing up as a kid, no dad and no real family on that side, I suppose that is quite nice to actually realise there is some extended family out there.
Yeah, it is, mate, because I've always known, I always used to know it's just me and my mum, and then my stepdad come into the picture, and then that whole situation happened with the divorce and stuff. And although his side of the family, I pretty much grew up with his side of the family, like my grandma, my granddad, all those types of folks, and I felt in some way a little bit disconnected to them because of the divorce, but they've always treated me the same still, like even to today, like they still buy the kids Christmas presents, they'll still see how I am and all this stuff. But it's a bit of an awkward relationship, so it's still kind of like, it's not awkward, but it's still kind of like that I've got my mum, like it is my mum, and I've got I still call my granddad and my grandma and that side of the family, aunties, uncles and stuff. Oh, I know love me to bits, but it's, you know, it's not the same. So when I actually found out that I have family, it just made you feel a different kind of way, I guess. And I guess it's something I've never experienced. So I'm still kind of learning and navigating through that at the moment.
Yeah, it's sort of the same for me. I grew up, I knew my dad, but he was in prison for most of my life. Everyone around town knew who he was. I knew of him, but had no real input to him. So for his sort of whole side of the family, never really got involved, got to know. And there's a lot of them as well, very similar to yours. But yeah, I never really got involved, and we sort of reconnected again 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's weird because, you know, when you're older and you're now starting to meet family that you've never known, it does take some adjustment.
It does. And even like my mum's brother. So like my mum has brothers and sisters, yet she has one sister that I don't really know that well, but it's like she who must not never be named type thing. And then one of her other sisters lives in Australia, but then her brother, like, I've got a really good relationship with a brother, but that only struck up, like you said, you know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, truly, you know, in terms of a proper relationship with him, like my uncle. And, you know, I class him as my uncle, and we chat every now and again and stuff, which is nice. But again, so my uncle actually lives in Newport, way down in like South Wales. So to see each other and stuff is very, very difficult. So I've only seen him probably in my entire life, maybe 3 or 4 times, I think. You know, so that's a challenge as well. But it's quite, the same stories are quite unique and they're quite similar as well. And the more I talk about my past with people, it's interesting to find how many people like have very similar upbringings as us. It's scary, and we keep it all in for some reason. I've kept all that in for years. Yeah.
Do you think growing up? Do you remember? I want to say, did you notice that you didn't have a dad? Because obviously you did. We all did. But it's like for me, I remember like going around to friends' house and you see your mum and dad and you see interacting with the dad. And I often used to think, that's not odd, but I don't know that. I don't know. That's completely alien to me.
Yeah, you know, I sort of did, because, like, you know, the old football thing, you know, your mum can only do so much, right? But bless her, my mum would kind of try and do all these great things with me, but you know yourself, mate, like, it's not the same, right? And I guess I felt it less when I was younger, because where I grew up was, I know where you grew up, so it's probably very similar, you know, in terms of, like, let's just say, it's probably like an absolute shithole. You get me? Like, it was mad.
Oh, you know it well, yeah.
It was rough to say the least. So
it resonated with me what you said when you said you moved to West Yorkshire, I think where you said. Yeah. You said it was a completely white town and you're like the only brown person in the village. For me, that's what Grantham was growing up. Like, it was very white. It's a very conservative town, and now it's changed now. But and I know I probably wasn't the only brown person in town at the time, but it definitely felt like that.
Yeah. Well, it was, because where I grew up when I was younger, was very mixed, right? So I never felt like I didn't have a dad, because I was always out there with loads of mixed backgrounds. It was like a real community thing. Do you know what I mean? So my mum was like, honestly, my mum was crazy back then. She was like a proper chavvy woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, so she was always out. We was always out together. So that was different. But when I moved to Tadcaster, and literally, mate, when I moved to Tadcaster, I think at the time I probably was the only black guy, brown guy, whatever you want to call me, in Tadcaster. So literally, it's visibly only me. And then it started, you know, changing a little bit. But that's
you let them all in.
Yeah, but then and then that's where I noticed it more. But at the time, that's when my mum met my stepdad, right? So but I still noticed, that's when I started noticing, I don't actually have a real dad. And I started going through that journey of, you know, because I think at the time he wanted to adopt me and all this stuff, and I was kind of like, well, you're not my dad, like, and it was that difficult realization that I don't actually have a father in my life. I've just got to try and adapt to this new guy quite quickly, and that took some time.
So how old were you when that happened? The 15, I think.
No, 11 when that happened. Yeah, so I moved to Tadcaster when I was 11.
Okay, just starting secondary school.
Yeah, literally.
And now you've got a stepdad.
And then, yeah, literally started secondary school, second half of secondary school, moved in with my mum, and then was introduced to like this guy, like, right? So this stepdad. And it was strange at first, obviously. Didn't know him from Adam, and spoke different to how I speak, you know, and he had a family, and it was weird because like at Christmas it wasn't just me and my mum, it was like a huge family environment with like grandmas, and I think the hardest bit for me was adjusting to having true grandparents. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So grandma and a granddad and uncles and aunties and cousins and all these things. I was like, what is all this? You know, so it was quite overwhelming. And then as you gradually settle in, it just becomes the norm, I guess, to a point, until again it's stripped away. So it was very weird.
So growing up, Marcel, did you always want to have kids? Was a big family, small family? No.
No, honestly, mate, I never saw it in my life. Never saw it in my life. It sounds quite surprising when you know me, but never thought of having a son or a daughter or anything like that. I never planned for any of it. I never thought, you know, I want 3 kids or 2 kids and a Labrador and a white picket fence or anything like that. I was just happy to live past 25, you know. So, yeah, I was like, yeah, just living the life, and then yeah, things change quite quickly, you know. You just have to prepare.
So look, your ex-girlfriend,
Mm.
when did you meet her?
Yeah, so met my ex during let's say a Playboy time of my life, and at the time it was like, met her, she made me settle down pretty much, and that was 2010, I think it was.
Okay.
So yeah, what, 10 years ago? And then yeah, that was like, and again, that was like my first true girlfriend, like ever. You know, I don't count like primary school and secondary school little playground girlfriend things, but you know, like proper girlfriend, it was her.
And how long were you together before you had Poppy?
Now you're testing me. So we were together for 3 years before we had Poppy.
Okay, so
Poppy in the 2014.
So there's a significant period in there where you're settling down, like you say, coming out of that Playboy lifestyle. Is there no conversations there about, are we going to have kids? Do we want to have kids? Was there any of that?
I don't think so, mate. If I look back, I don't think because at that time, you know, I was what, 20, 25, 20, well, 20, 25, 26 when Poppy was born. So like at that point, I was still relatively young. We were both still going out, you know, and I was working in recruitment back then, you know, so for recruitment agencies. So I was earning great money, you know, before I met you guys. Like I was working for an agency, earning great money and stuff. And I wasn't really, I was more focused on football, going out, my friends, that type of stuff. So selfishly, and that's probably what affected the relationship long term, was we didn't really plan for any future. You know, it was just living life in the moment until we got the news.
So you're, I say, quite a young guy, good looking man,
Cheers,
earning decent dosh. How does she tell you she's pregnant?
Oh God. Literally just walks in crying, I'm pregnant.
And what's the reaction?
That yeah, just literally cheeks puffed. Wow, like what the hell do we do? How do we afford it? How do we be parents? Are we ready? All these thoughts go through your mind, right? So, you know, at the time we were renting a house in Ashton. So it's like we're renting, we're not buying. At the time she wasn't working either. Oh no, she was working actually, but not in the career that she wanted to be in. So again, not necessarily earning the money that she wanted to earn. So it was only really my income. And mentality out of that time was, it's my money, right? So it's my money. I'll pay a lot of the bills towards the house, but it's my money. I don't want to share it with children or anything. So it was a shock moment for sure. That it literally did knock me for six. But it wasn't. I'd like to say that it was one of them, oh, amazing, yeah, you know, jovial like you see in the movies. But that's not reality. And
Real
it wasn't
life,
my
mate.
reality, you know?
Yeah, this is real life. It doesn't work. Doesn't work like Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
pregnancy, was it smooth or any issues?
No, normal pregnancy, smooth with, apart from, mum having back pain and what have you. And then I think she got induced and then normal birth. So no complications, pretty standard.
And did you find out that you're having a girl, or were you one of those crazy parents that likes to wait? And
Mate, I can't wait for my Amazon order. So you think I'm going to wait 9 months to find out the gender of a baby? No chance. However, for my most recent baby, so baby number 3, I did actually want to wait. I didn't want to know, and I think that's because I've had 2 already, right?
Got 2 already, yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually prepared not to wait, but that didn't happen either. So, but we'll get onto that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and names wise, was that an easy decision, or was that months of arguments?
No, mate. Like, I'm so passive with things like that as long as it sounds nice to me, I'm happy. Like, and I'm kind of lazy in that field. And I still am today. That I don't really like to look at names of books. I don't like to look at babies' clothes or babies' designs. Those things just don't interest me. I don't know whether that's just because I'm a typical bloke, if you like. I don't know if that's a typical bloke reaction, but no, I always claim that I chose the name Poppy and her middle name Annabelle. I think I had some sway in it, but I can't actually remember if it was my decision or not. I'm just going to say it was, but I don't think there's many arguments in it, to be fair. There's more arguments about baby number 2. Not arguments, but switch arounds, let's say, for baby number
2. So what, obviously, while she's pregnant, you switched jobs, right? Because that's where you come to join the infamous Chill Out Corner.
Yes, mate, yeah. So
what drives that? Why? Because you'd imagine one thing you need when you're having a baby is you think, I need some stability, and the fact that you decide to switch careers. What drove that?
Now you're opening a can of worms, mate. So at the time, I was working in recruitment and wasn't being paid enough. It's as simple as that. Salary was truly awful. When you reflect on it and you realize what you're putting in versus what you're getting out. Let's put it, for example, right now, I was new to recruitment, and doing a successful contract business and getting 5% commission on that is a joke. You think about it now, you think, well, how the hell was I even? Why was I even bothering? And the other side of the business getting like 15%. So it's like you soon get experience, and when you work there for 2 years, like I did, it was like I'm not being taken for a fool. And at the time, the company that we used to work for came to me and headhunted me and approached me to leave recruitment. And it sounded at the beginning, it sounded too good to be true. I did a lot of research into it. I was convinced to stay in recruitment. I was, counter offered all this kind of stuff. But I think it was the draw and the sale of what the opportunity was sold by the 2 people. I won't mention their names, obviously, but the 2 people sold it very, very well. Drew me in, and I thought ultimately, ex-partner wasn't earning too much money. I was earning good money because I had a big contract business. So I was earning good money, but not enough money, and that role coming over to you guys increased my salary by, I think it was at least 6 or 7 grand or something at the time, maybe more. I don't remember what it was. And it came with a car, right? So 2 amazing things, because I didn't have a car at the time because I lived in the city centre. And salary increase. What looked like a great opportunity, and it turned out to be for the early part with you boys.
Yeah, everything was going swimmingly until that day when everyone was made redundant. It was just honestly that for me was one of the worst days in my life at work.
Mate, I will still remember that. I will still remember that day now. And as you get older, the more mature you get, you reflect on it. And doing what I do now, if that would happen in my company right now, that was a huge scandal, right? And it's crazy, because when I sit back, I'm like, not only personally, there was then no consideration for my circumstance, because literally,
was about 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, like less than a month, I think she was born. So having that come to you, it's like, whoa, what is going on? I've got to find a new job. Like, that is mad. No car, no job. Wow. Like, it really did hit you. And I think the most disappointing part of that was communication in the morning was, you'll be absolutely fine. Don't worry. It's not affecting you. Be absolutely fine. The afternoon, completely different. And also my boss at the time, gone completely AWOL at that moment in time.
He did a runner.
Absolutely.
He did a runner in the morning.
Absolutely, yeah. Literally came in, coat off, went into a meeting, coat on, off, and texting, calling, even for about also after, mental.
That was the worst for me, because I was in that first meeting, and they were like, "This is the list of people that are going."
Yeah,
and I was just like sat there, and then the worst part was, you have to go out and sit on the floor with everybody, and everyone's going, "What's happening? What's happening?" And you're like, "Oh, I don't know." And then the way they did it, one by one, literally, "Can I have a word? Can I have a word?" It was just like, what is going on?
But they did it in a way that you could defend yourself as well. And it was like, well, you can't defend yourself because it's a business decision. And I understand the business decision, but then I also understand what got me into that decision. So it's the little things. And I've thought about this over the years, and it's the little things that I would take on behalf of someone else, which now I realize, when you look at the bottom line of a P&L, puts you massively in the negative. And I'm talking in particular about one event that me and you went on.
Yeah.
Of Cheltenham. You remember that?
Yeah. We got stitched up there as well.
Exactly. Cost thousands. And it wasn't even my account. But then it was funny, because then just before we was due to go on that trip, there was all booked and all stuff like this. And it was like, oh, see how you do at Cheltenham, and I'll give you that. Oh, yeah, mint. It's a huge account, mint. But the first few months on me, it would just look as negative $2,000, $3,000, whatever.
Yeah.
And I have to recuperate that. And that was literally the February, I think it was, or whenever it was. I can't remember when it was now, but it was early days. And
March, I think.
Yeah.
March it was,
if you're a director, mate, all you're going to be looking at, right, where is anybody performing above the line? Because they've got the potential. They could probably, they're not costing us money. This guy been in the business 6 months and he's in the red for $2,000-3,000, because at the same time, we just hired that other member of staff, if you remember.
Yeah.
And I was putting more on the board week in, week out than at the time she was. But because of those things, mental, mate, mental.
So obviously, just after that, you've got a brand new baby. What does that do to you, like pressure wise? You're obviously thinking the worst. How am I going to provide? What's going through your head at that point?
Literally that. I'm the man of the house. Mrs. on maternity. I've got to provide. What the hell do I do? But I think it's the competitiveness of me, and the sporting element of me that's like, can't stand still, got to keep moving, right? And nothing's going to defeat me. And literally that week, got on the phone, spoke to some rec-to-recs, spoke to some companies, some people I knew in industry, and mate, literally that week I had interviews lined up for the whole week, and by the end of that week, I had 3 or 4 offers on the table. So I was like, but
it's having that mindset to do that, because you can see how somebody with that news could just like sink and not be able to pull themselves through and get out and get on the phone and get a job. Then the bills start coming in and you've got no money coming in. You can see how people really fold under that pressure.
Absolutely. And what's really good, I guess, a good story to that was in that week as well, I actually had an interview for the place I'm at now, and didn't get it. But the thing was, I came like second, and it was mad. And I remember my boss now giving me that feedback, saying that I haven't got it, but to stay in contact and all this stuff. And I just remember thinking, that's probably the best job I wanted to do that was not recruitment agency, because all my other offers were from recruitment agencies.
Yeah,
I didn't want to do it anymore. But then I had to kind of really suck up that disappointment and then take the next best offer, which, to be fair, when I went into Anders Elite, mate, amazing. Like, the people there were a choice, let's say, but as a company, to let you, without that micromanagement, to let you own your desk, and as an agency, probably had one of my best times there, in recruitment as an agent, from a recruitment agency perspective. They were great, like completely flexible. The money was great. The desk I had it was cold to begin with, and I built that up to a really good level. And although I only spent, I think it was a year roughly there before I ended up coming to where I am now, it wasn't disappointing because I knew obviously I wasn't going to stay there forever. But if I wanted to be in agency recruitment, I would have stayed there for sure.
Yeah,
would have stayed there.
So how does life change then, Marcell, after the first baby, after Poppy? What's the big difference?
What in terms of now?
For you, no, for you, from being that Playboy.
Yeah, God, right.
How does life change?
Massively, and
Not out every week, I imagine anymore.
No. Well, I'll be honest, mate. I went through a stage when Poppy was born. You know, I was with you boys at the time, and you know, we were having those nights out in Hale and stuff. Like, you didn't have children at the time. The infamous trio was out whenever we could. You know, Christmas lunches, all that nonsense, and then out most weekends, and then football as well. Like, I was playing football Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, but then I was doing all the six-a-sides as well. And it was because at that moment in time, I don't know what it was. I put it down to depression or something along those lines, but I couldn't bond with my daughter. It's something I share openly, but I saw her more of a burden, you know what I mean? And I had, like, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I've got a baby. I'm supposed to love my baby. And, you know, I've got a love for my baby, but I want to spend my money on me. I don't want to give up football. I don't want to give up going out with the boys.
Yeah.
And then when I left you lot and went into agency, then obviously long hours came in. We were right next to Duke's 92. So Fridays after work, it was like, let's go to Duke's, you know? So I was not giving all that up, or trying not to give that up, and balance being a parent. And it was only after a few months, I probably about 3 months before something just like snapped, and it was like, I'm a dad and I absolutely love this little girl. So I'm going to make some changes for this little girl. I'm going to work hard for this little girl. And the money that I bring in is going to be for this little girl, regardless of my situation with the ex at that moment in time. It's actually, what can I do to give and provide for her? But I think it was too little too late in the relationship point of view, because I was still being very selfish with what I had, you know? And it took a while for me to realize that. But then also, flip side, I made up for a lot of that because I gave and gave and gave, you know, when I realized, you know, and when it all kind of hit my head a little bit more. But that's probably the biggest difference, is sometimes I still edge into that selfishness of still wanting my own time versus spending time with my family, you know. And I think that'll always be a constant yin and yang battle. But now, like, yeah, Playboy lifestyle is completely dead. Proper dad lifestyle now, you know, 1 beer max, and then true binge drinker maybe once a month if I'm out with the boys.
So how old's Poppy when that relationship breaks down?
She was just 18 months. So we split up in December, and that was a funny split up as well, because we actually flew to Tenerife for Christmas, but we pretty much split up before then. So that was interesting. So we spent a holiday in Tenerife, and Poppy was 18 months. No, probably 20 months old. No, 21 months old or something like that, whatever that is in. If you want to use months, I hate that, but like a year and a half, let's say, or a year and 3/4. Yeah, and then we truly separated in that January, I think it was, where we completely made the split.
And how was the first 6 months after that? Then how was the relationship with being able to see Poppy? Obviously, you two have to have a manageable relationship, right, to make sure that, you know, Poppy's being looked after the way she should be. So how was that?
Tough, because it's an adjustment. So I won't say I won't be on here and say that it was easy or that it was truly amicable to begin with or anything like that. I think we had a understanding, and, you know, at the time I was having Poppy a huge amount of time because I lived like 5-10 minutes away from where they lived. So like, I would have Poppy on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. You know, we'd rotate that Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday element of the weekends. But so, you know, I got to see Poppy all the time. I think the biggest struggle was not necessarily who does what. Well, it was kind of like that. It's like the role and responsibilities and the financial element of it as well. Like, who pays for what, what should you be giving versus what shouldn't you be giving, and all of that. So that's where the arguments always came in.
That's what I was going to ask about, that maintenance. How does that work then? Because obviously I've never touched wood. I've never been in that situation. But how does it work?
It's tough. So at the start, we had like a mutual arrangement where I would give X amount of money per week, which we agreed on. And then there would be nuances of, oh, she needs X, Y, and Z. And I'd be like, well, get it out of that. Why am I paying more, kind of thing, And there was little arguments about that. And whether it was enough, looking back, it probably wasn't enough now, but whatever. It was, that's what caused an argument. And then in particular, there was one event where with my current partner now, we have so her parents own an apartment in Marbella, so we can fly out there and have a nice holiday in the sun.
We can fly out there, or
well, they won't even let her brother go out there on his own. So I don't think I've got any chance of always going out there like so. But we went there for 10 days, and we took Poppy with us, and we took at the time my little lad, who was, I think he was 2 maybe at the time. No, we had 1 or 2 at the time. I can't remember, but it came to that point while we was over there. We went for 10 days of paying the money that I was supposed to pay that week out of our arrangement, and I remember just saying, well, no, well, actually, before then, because we'd argued about this before on a different occasion, and that's another story. But I actually saw like a solicitor about what is right and what's wrong in this mutual arrangement, and the solicitor gave me some advice that you don't have to pay and all this stuff, whether it's right or not. But on that holiday, I said, I'm not going to give you the maintenance money for Poppy for this week because she's with me out here. So I'd rather use that money that I'll give you and just give it to her and let her do what she wants with it on holiday. Like, because ultimately it's for her, right? So I went into it in that mentality, had that conversation, and it broke down the relationship around money, which then led to an actual child maintenance agreement being put in place. So the official government child maintenance agreement, which let's just say is I don't have to be polite on here, I guess. So it's fucked up. Let's just say that it's absolutely messed up, mate. As a system, I honestly don't understand how they can do that to a dad. And I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about any dad out there. The mum is completely in the power, right? And I'm not saying that they don't deserve the money, because I absolutely do. And I've never had any issue with paying maintenance at all. And I'm more than happy to pay maintenance. It's the way the maintenance company go around doing it, which is the issue. So yeah, it's disgusting, mate. And I don't understand what my situation has to do with what I pay out to the mother of my, or the mother of my child, right? So essentially, the more successful I am, the more money I have to pay to my ex to look after my daughter.
Right.
So it's like you get punished as being a dad for trying to better your life, and you have to give more for your daughter, right? To your ex. Now, don't get me wrong, I'll always provide for my daughter, but there should be like a cap, right? Like you can't. I don't even, what I pay out on maintenance right now I don't even pay that on the 2 kids I have right now per month, So they've worked out to be right. Whatever, if it is right, it is right. I hold my hands up or whatever, but it just doesn't seem fair. And you can never kind of go, I would never ever go to my ex and say, give me a breakdown of everything you pay, because that would just be insulting and it cause a huge argument. And to be fair to my ex, she looks after my daughter incredibly well. Like, she provides unbelievably for my daughter. So I never ever have any issues with that. But it's like, it's a significant amount of money a month, Yeah. And if I get a promotion at work, that goes up.
Even more.
If I get a bonus at work, that goes up. And at the time when they first worked it out, I was currently doing 2 jobs in work. So I was doing a secondment into another role, which meant I was doing 2 roles, dual roles, which means my salary was inflated for that year. Plus, I got a really high bonus that year. So they worked out on that figure. And because when I said that's not my true salary, that was just a year.
Yeah, one off.
Yeah. But because the difference was greater than it was 24% difference from my current salary to what it was in inflated, it had to reach 25% for them to readjust. So for a whole year, I had to pay more than what I was actually supposed to pay on lower income. So that became more of a struggle because that affects, what I can do here for my family now, right? Yeah. So we just bought a house this year, so last year, so it affected what mortgage I could get. It affected, what I could actually pay for my kids right now in terms of holidays, whatever presents and all this stuff, because I'm paying that much out a month for one of my children, and I don't earn an infinite amount of money, right? So it's quite tough. It was quite tough for sure.
Yeah,
that needs looking at though, 100%.
And is it like means tested, or is it just this is a percentage that you're going to pay and
percentage, mate? Yeah, they because it's a government. I think it's an arm of the government or something like that. That they tap into HMRC.
And does it affect? Is it affected by what she earns? Because surely,
no. I thought
on the flip side, right? If she starts doing really well and earning lots more money, why are you not impacted the same way?
Yeah, exactly, mate. It's not, and these were all questions I asked. I spent a lot of time researching. I spent a lot of time on the phone, and what is really interesting about that company is that they pretend to be your best friend on the phone, right? And then they don't make note of everything you said. Luckily, I recorded the conversation on my phone. So I had evidence to back up conversations, because they were denying conversations that we had and agreements that they were telling me on the phone that I'd be entitled to. So I could play it back and say, actually, this is what your agent told me.
Yeah.
If I didn't have that, I would have been truly screwed. But yeah, it doesn't. What she earns is not affected. What her because it's not like she's a single mum, so her partner works, doesn't affect the income. How and then the other element of it is, at the time I was having Poppy Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? And if I would have continued having her that amount of time, I would pay less.
Yeah.
Subsequently, probably the right thing for Poppy is that now I see her less time because of school and all this stuff, but I only see her like every other weekend. But then that gets factored in, so I pay more because of that as well. So again, because she's spending more time at her mum's, which they put a certain cost to.
It's mad though, because technically what they're saying there is she could marry Elon Musk, right? Billionaire.
Yeah.
And you'd still have to pay the same amount.
100%. And again, what's difficult is, I earn good money, mate, right? I earn good money, damn good money. And I don't feel it, and I have an A3 convertible, right? So it's a bit of a glam, like midlife crisis car, if you say, but I own that car, right? But yeah. I couldn't get like a Range Rover on finance, or a car that I could afford with my salary comfortably. I couldn't get that now because I pay this amount out. Yet what's most disheartening is when you see your partner at the time, or your ex-partner at the time, who she's semi successful, I think, now, because she has her own business and all this stuff. But at the time, driving around in the Mercedes and stuff like this, so it's those things that you're like, I earn good money. My new partner now earns really good money. We can't afford those things. But how do you afford it when I know that at the time they didn't have a job, so it's like, how do you have two Mercedes-Benz on your drive, and you never want to think that your money's gone towards that. And I wouldn't ever say that, because I know my daughter gets looked after very well. So I would never say that, but it frustrates you, because you kind of want to believe in a system that, yes, you can pay what's fair for your daughter. And I always think that, or I think that potentially the government should look at something where that, I don't know what, maybe like it's from 0 to 3 years old, average baby or child should cost X, and as they grow up, it goes up or down depending on what the rough mean expenses are or something like that, rather than just going off percentages of what the dad earns solely.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So moving forward, Marcell, so Poppy's 2. Do you see a change in your relationship with Poppy when you leave, or did you not really notice that?
Didn't notice it. What do you mean? So like when she was 2, you mean?
Yeah.
We broke up in the middle.
Yeah. So is it obviously with you not being around as much as you were? Do you notice a change in how your relationship is?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's tough. It's really tough because she's got, like, I guess you can call him a stepdad now in her life, right? So he's been there since she was 2. So he's there every day. I'm not. And at the time when I was having a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there probably wasn't much of a difference. Whereas when I started only seeing her once a week, or now every other week, there's a significant difference because some weekends she doesn't want to come, so I turn up on the door and she's crying her eyes out because she doesn't want to leave her mum, right? Because she's so close to her mum and she doesn't want to leave that situation, right? So she don't want to leave that life. So me turning up on the doorstep, it's quite difficult when she's screaming and really doesn't want to come. Now, when she gets in the car, she's absolutely fine. It's a completely different story, but that's not a nice feeling to have.
No.
And, it's those little nuances as well when you're at home, and she'll always call me daddy and dad and all this stuff, but then sometimes she'll call me his name, and it's like, oh
yeah,
that's a killer, and it don't matter how much of a good relationship I have with them both right now, it's kind of like, yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like, no, like, so that is tough because I always, having been brought up without a dad, I always know how easy it is to forget to a degree about the other figure. Yeah. So I try and maintain a relationship as best I can through like FaceTiming or something like that. But again, it's very difficult because in our world we're so busy. So by the time I finish work, sometimes she's in bed, and then I might get a message from my ex saying you've not spoken to Poppy in a week, and it's not because I haven't wanted to. It's just because maybe I've been stuck in work or been doing things for work that I've not been able to get that time. And again, that's on me because I should have made the time. But when you get sucked into things and that's tough. And there's definitely a change. But I know she loves me, which is the main thing, because when she is here, she's completely here and she doesn't leave me alone. So that's amazing.
So moving forward, single man back in the game.
Oh, right, yeah.
How does that affect, I suppose, meeting new people? The fact that you've got a kid.
Do you
think does it put people off?
I don't know, to be honest. I never really got any knocks back with that kind of justification.
So when you meet Nicola, right?
Yeah.
You tell her straight away?
I can't remember. I think so. I don't think I ever hid the fact. I never hide the fact that I had a daughter because when at that point in time, I'm proud, right? So, I was very social media-y back then, very Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. So if you were on any of my socials, you'd always see me and Poppy at that time because I was constantly, selfies, all this. Whereas now I don't really use social media like that anymore. So you'll see less of that now. But back then, I'd never really hid that. So any girl I'd be speaking to, they would know that because it would either be my profile picture or in a video that I've uploaded, or if I managed to drop some Marcell charm on a young lady, and they would come round to my gaff or something, Poppy's toys would be around. Do you know what I mean? So I never hid that. So I never ever hid that. So it might put some people off, but if it puts some people off, has a mentality, I'm not really that arsed. Like,
of course.
Leave me then. Do you know what I mean? I'm not bothered. Daughter comes first.
So how long after splitting up do you meet Nicola?
So you like this one. So this was interesting. So I met. So I never went on those apps. So I never went on like a Tinder or a Plenty of Fish, and I think they've got like Bumbles and Juves and all these other weird things now. That's showing my age and stuff. I never went on them because I just never bothered. But my main app of choice was Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
And my little tactic at the time was
you were poking everyone, weren't you?
No. But this is what I used to do though. Is a running joke. Hopefully, I never end up in this situation, giving my tactics away here again. But hopefully, I never end up in this single.
Hold on, let me get a pad and paper.
But it was birthdays, mate. It was birthdays, as simple as that. It was birthdays. So, if someone's birthday popped up on my timeline and I like the look of them, it would be a little slide in the DM of, hey, long time no speak, happy birthday, blah, 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 hope you're well. And it was just casting the net until somebody bit, right? And I had a few dates off the back of that, shall we say? And Nicola subsequently was one of them that I messaged saying happy birthday. But what I didn't realize at the time is that me and Nicola, we had known each other known of each other for like 9-10 years. Because back in my Playboy days, when I was modeling topless in nightclubs, there's an actual picture of me and Nicola and her friends, and I'm there in the picture. And it was funny because we started talking and started dating. And then on time, we must have tagged each other on a few things on Facebook or something. But then on her time hop thing that used to come up, that picture came up. So it was like, we've known each other for so long, but never interacted or never spoke until that moment. And yeah, I met her in, I think it was April. Yeah, it was definitely April because her birthday was in April. So I messaged her on her birthday and then we got talking. And I think we went on our first date around May. And then things started getting more, well, to be fair, mate, she pied me off, to be fair. Because I was using the old Playboy tactics. When I like first date, it was decent. I think we went Trafford Centre, had a few drinks and stuff, nothing too special. Second date, it was like a cinema day, and they all dropped the line of, "Oh, want to come chill at mine?" kind of thing, and she's like, "Nope." And then there was more dates and stuff, and then I think I kept hammering it down and hammering her down and broke down her walls, and then I think it just stemmed from there. Then the relationship, which is good.
And how long into that relationship before the bomb drops again? I'm pregnant.
Yeah, so that was a shock. So I'd been seeing Nicola, let's say, from really from about June, that time, when we were actually properly seeing each other. And then, we spent Christmas together and stuff. And I think it was that year, it was that winter where I'd done my knee at football. So she was looking after me and stuff throughout the winter because I literally couldn't walk. I was on crutches and I couldn't put any weight through it, all this stuff. So she was supporting me through that. And it was around the Christmas time we started having the conversation, so what are we then? Are we official? And I was always like, well, and it was kind of like, you was getting to that point where I would make it official or lose it type thing. So we made it official around then. And then it was New Year's Eve. It was literally New Year's Eve, mate. So we had been official probably a month, but seeing each other since like June. And New Year's Eve, she came around. I remember it like it was yesterday. Like she came around. We had plans. I've got something to tell you. All right, sound. I thought she was going to say, I don't know whether she'd seen some messages from me from months ago, from before we got together or something that she wanted to talk to me about or something like that.
All those birthday messages.
Yeah, probably all those little tactics, or a message of best friends saying happy birthday or something. I don't know. But no, it was, the tears came and then my heart sank because I knew what was coming. And then, the same sort of reaction. But I think the reaction with Nicola was probably slightly, I wouldn't say worse, that's probably the wrong word, but more panic because I wasn't in a great financial situation when I left my ex, being honest, because of certain things I won't go into. But I was rebuilding myself up from that. And I started getting myself in a decent place, and then I meet this amazing woman, and without truly knowing the woman, so we can't really say that we truly knew each other. She's pregnant.
Yeah.
So I then have to think about the reality of fuck. I'm going to have a baby with somebody I don't even really know. Like I don't even know who your parents are. I don't know, who your friends are to a degree. I don't really know much about you at all, and now I'm having a baby with you. That was tough. That was tough. But bless her, like she gave me the option, mate. You know, she said, you know, I know we don't know each other very well. I'm going to have the baby. You can be there, or you don't have to be. She said, I'm more than capable of looking after the baby myself. But I think, again, knowing that I didn't have a parent in my life, I wasn't going to have that. So regardless of my situation, I just had to, again, step up to the plate and suck it up for what, you know, they're kind of, what my mate's going to think, what's my mum going to think about, knowing this girl that they've not even met yet. And then all of a sudden dropping the bombshell on them that, you know, less than a year ago I split up with my ex. Now I'm getting this new girl and I'm having a baby. Mental, you know.
How does the ex react to that?
Well, again, another funny. I'm giving you excellent content here, by the way. So we wait, obviously, like you do. You wait for the 12 weeks, and before we start telling people and stuff. And you know, the first thing we had to do was tell her parents, which I had not met, and I'd heard stories about her dad being a pretty scary guy. Like, so, you know me, mate, I back myself anyway. Do you know what I mean? I was like, scary. Imagine, like, it's all good, but you want to get on with the parents in it. So went for a meal and stuff, and it was absolutely fine. It was really nice, and you know, we get on really well now, so that was all fine. But it came to a point where we had to tell my ex about the situation, and I remember the phone call because I think we had an argument or something. I think we'd had an argument or something about Poppy, and I think it was about like a day or something. I can't remember what it was, but I said to her, I need to ring you. I need to speak to you. I don't want to message you. I need to ring you. And I was at work at the time, and I rang her. And before I could say anything, she was like, I've got something to tell you. And I was like, well, what? And she was like, I'm pregnant. Oh. So she was telling me that she was pregnant. So then I was like, well, I was ringing you to say that Nick was pregnant. And boy, when I said that, shit hit the fan, bro. Like, oh, it went mad. Like, it was like, what? It went off, and phone went down. Messages came in. I think I was supposed to have Poppy that night. Messages coming through as, you're not seeing Poppy this night. It's ridiculous. You're making a mistake. These types. I don't think she said make a mistake. Actually, that's probably a lie. But she said, like, you don't know the person. All this kind of stuff. And obviously I reacted then, and we got in an argument. And then I was still living in Ashton at the time, so you know, she came round. I told her to come round and make sure she brought Poppy and have a good conversation about it. And it was just, I think it was just more of a knee-jerk reaction from her, because you know, she was getting upset, and I don't know whether there were still feelings there from her or anything like that. It was like,
she's also pregnant, right?
But yeah, she was also pregnant, so it was like a little bit hypocritical. But at the time, again, I think what she was actually thinking more of is how is this going to affect Poppy? You know, am I now going to just forget about Poppy completely and focusing on Nicola and my new baby, right? So I think that's what she was more worried about. And once I said to her, like, that's not going to happen. Poppy's my daughter. I'll always be there to provide for her. Absolutely, always be there. It kind of, it wasn't, I'm not going to say it was fine, but it was okay, you know. And I think she got over that. And literally, mate, she was due the same month as my son. They're literally, I think, 2 days apart.
Wow.
You know, and literally when she got with her partner now, it was literally the same times, like the same time frames of when I got with Nicola. I think she got with him maybe a month or two earlier than what me and Nicola did. But again, she's known that guy a lot longer, because it's that whole situation of he was a best friend, you know. Yeah, that one of them ones.
Dick in a glass jar. That's what that is.
Yeah, it's one of them, but it's really funny because you know when you have that situation, when you find out that situation initially, and you're like, how the fuck can you do that to me? Like, was this going on before? And then you remember all the conversations you had about that individual. You know, when you raise concerns about it, and it's like, no, this X, Y, and Z, and there's like, he's this, he's that, he's this, and you're like, but now he's this, like now he's your. And now they're getting married and stuff now, and you know, I just saw it as long as he's good to my little girl, I'm not bothered. You know, I've got no feelings towards my ex, so she can do what she wants, and as long as my little girl's happy, and she absolutely loves him to death as well. So I've got no hard feelings towards him at all. Like, you know, you do you, I'll do me. As long as my daughter's fine, we've got no issue at all. And mate, to be fair to him, and you know, it took me a while to get to this point, but to be fair to him, he's great with her. Like, do you know what I mean? So I can't knock the man for that.
Did you ever have a chat with him when he starts going out with your ex?
I had a chat with her.
Okay.
I had a chat with her. So it was like, if he shouts at her, if he touches her, you know, I'll kill him. Yeah. Ultimately, you know, it was all those kind of conversations of, I won't stand for any of that, and make sure he knows that. But I think he always knew that, because I remember a comment when me and Dion were first together, like, and I think it was her 21st birthday, and he was there with all his friends, and I don't think, like, I had one of my friends at the party, and he never came over, like, they never came over to introduce themselves, and, you know, the hi from a distance and stuff. I remember the comment came back from my ex was like, oh, they all think that you're massive, like, they won't come near you, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know whether that still plays in his mind of, like, you know, I don't know what this guy's like. Will he tump me? Will he not tump me? And all this stuff. Whereas, you know, I'm not going to do that. I'm not an idiot. But I think he will know, and I think he would be the same in my situation if there's any kind of wrongdoing to your kid, like, it's game over kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I think we had that understanding, whether it came from her to him or whether it was just from eye contact, that there'll be no games played. You know what I mean? But I've never had any issues, mate. And from what I've seen of them together, I don't think I'll ever have that problem, because you know, I've been to parties with them, you know, like kids' parties. They've invited me to Poppy's birthday parties and stuff, and I've been there, and he's always been great. Like, I can't knock him for that.
Yeah. And so Poppy, little Poppy, that's how me and Perch will always remember, little Poppy. Yeah. Little Poppy's mixed race, right? Looking, she looks mixed race. Blake's very pale skin, like very white, right?
Yeah. Literally like a white wall, mate. Completely different.
How is that for you when you have Blake? Like, because I'll tell you something honest about how I felt. Because Leo, for me, is super white.
Yeah.
Right. And I've just been completely honest. In the first 3 weeks, I was gutted. Genuinely gutted that I was like, he's not brown. Like, people kept telling me, oh no, he'll turn brown. Yeah, like he'll grow into his color. Like, come on. Like, came out, honestly, when he came out, he's like so white, and I was just honestly, and I've had this conversation with Carly, and I was like, I was gutted. And you know what? It wasn't until about 3 weeks later, and I was walking the dog, and suddenly I thought, oh, he's white. He's not going to grow up with all the same problems that I had as growing up as a kid. You know, he's not going to walk down the street to school and have kids shout "Packy" and that sort of stuff to him. You know, he's not going to meet girls. I remember meeting girls at like 16, 17, and you go home and they say, "I've just ignored my dad. He's a bit racist."
Remember them ones? Jesus Christ.
I tell you, Marcell, I had one. I've been dating this girl for a little bit. Sat having a couple of drinks one night, and he took the shotgun off the wall, pointed it at my head, and he went, "This is what we do with your kind."
Oh my days!
And it's just like, and all that was going through my head, and I was like, suddenly I was like, "Oh, it's great that he's not my color."
Yeah.
But then I had that feeling of, but why should I feel great that he doesn't have to? Do you know what I mean? In the society that we are, I shouldn't have to be happy that he's white.
No, it's a sad reality, mate, and I can completely empathise with you, because I'm the same. I've probably not thought of it on the flip side of what you have, to be fair. But you know, even Poppy now, like, I look at Poppy, I look at Blake, and I look at Aria. You know, our latest edition, and you know, they're different colours, right? So Poppy's like olive, so you can tell she's a little bit mixed, but still to the degree where I don't think she'll have any issues. Maybe people will comment about her curly hair because she's got really curly hair,
Yeah.
but I don't think she'll have any issues. But Blake certainly won't, because he literally, like, the only thing he could have had was blue eyes, and then he'd be completely that stereotypical
German
kind of kid, yeah. And then Aria, she's pale as well, like, so. My kids are white essentially, and yeah, I'm even now. I think, like, I'd have loved a child that was my color, because I celebrate the uniqueness of my color. Do you know what I mean? And that I'm brown. I'm proud to be this color, and I think there's a unique bond between people of our color that we share, and struggle that we share, and they'll never have that to a degree, or they'll never truly get to experience that to some degree. I'm not saying they can't experience that, because they can truly own their mixed heritage, of course, but it is tough. But what I try to do, and this is what we're looking at the moment, is schools for Blake. I never had a choice with Poppy, as you can imagine, but for Blake, we're looking at what schools we can put him in that have that truly mix of diverse and inclusive kids as well. So that although, yes, he is going to have that privilege, because he's going to be privileged, right? He's coming from a family home where I'm able to provide privilege for him now, because I'm privileged now in the situation. So he's never going to miss a meal. He's never going to miss a birthday. He's never going to not have toys. He's never going to not have the latest games console, latest trainers, latest football. He's going to have all those privileges, and he's going to have even more privileges because he's white, right?
Yeah.
Now, can I call him white? Yes, because that's the color of him, but he is mixed race ultimately, right? But he looks white. So he's never going to feel the things that we felt. So yeah, listening to you, mate, I'm kind of, that hit me just then, because it's like, well, yeah, he's never going to experience what we've experienced, and I'm kind of grateful for that, because I looking back, I would never want anybody experiencing what we probably went through growing up.
Like, Brown's such a, because this sounds awful, because I don't mean it like I'm about to say it, but Brown's such a weird color.
Yeah.
In that, we're not black, so black people are like, well, you're not one of us. You're not white.
Yeah.
So you're not white. So white people are like, well, you're not one of us either.
Yeah.
So we sort of sit in that middle and being like, in fact, you may have experienced this. I certainly have. I'll be around people that will say racist shit, and I'll look at them and be like, and they'll go, "Oh no, we're not talking about you. We're talking about black people."
Oh yeah, 100%, mate. Like 100%. And it's really funny, because, like, I think you'll know this yourself. For years and years, you probably experienced the same as me, where you built up such a tolerance that you ignore those friends around you that are like, "Oh, that N-word over there," or X, Y, and Z, or the things that are not crazily offensive, like neo-Nazi offensive, but are still offensive. But you let them get away with it because they're your mates, right? So you build this huge tolerance and allow them to get away with that. And it was a real snapshot of reality for me this time last year, when I went to a BAME event that unlocked a lot of those doors for me to really truly feel what a microaggression was, for example. And when George Floyd died, and all the stuff that happened with BLM, I put out like a social media post which was quite open and quite honest on Facebook, and I don't really post that much on social media. You probably look at my socials and you think he doesn't post that much, because I don't anymore. But I really thought, well, this is enough now. My tolerances are completely down. I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. And I spoke the truth. And it was amazing, because a lot of my closest friends, who are still my closest friends, would comment and apologize to me and message me saying, "I'm really sorry. I was definitely part of that, and I didn't realize that it affected you at this point." And I had to say to him, "Don't apologize to me, because I've enabled you to be saying these things, such as being fined every week for being black in the football team, because I was the only black guy. So every week I'd get fined. So I'd have to pay, only a quid, but there were jokes. There were fines for like for like beers at the end of the end of the season, But I was captain, and all these guys are some of my best friends. Do you know what I mean? So it was banter. It was banter that I tolerated, right? But when I reflect on it now, I'm like, well, I built up a tolerance because I grew up in that environment for so many years, and these are my closest friends, and I grew up and I had banter with it, and I allowed them to have banter with it. it definitely affected me, but I blocked it out. But then what if a young brown player, young black player came into that team and they saw that happen?
Yeah.
Would they think they can be allowed to be fined for that? I'm basically telling them that
It's
being
fine.
treated that way is fine. So I spoke my truth, and I said that to some of my friends, and I was like, don't apologize, because I enabled it just as much as you did by allowing you to do those things. So it was a learning for me, but it was wrong, and they know it was wrong. And that's what was the best thing for me when those friends came out and said, listen, we shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have said this. Looking back, it was horrendous. And I was like, but yeah, I enabled it as much as you did. So just as long as we move forward and we don't allow that to happen again, and we change, it's better.
It exploded last year, didn't it, with the whole BLM, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
And you see online. I mean, Facebook is a cesspit at the best of times, but I really got to see what some people I would consider friends really truly thought about race and racism. It was amazing. Like, one of the things I don't quite understand is, like, I don't understand why people can't separate Black Lives Matter, the political side of it.
Yeah.
Because what they stand for, right, is defunding the police, wealth distribution, which is essentially white wealth distribution. All that's nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. And nobody stood here going, I mean, that's what we want. But the sentiment of Black Lives Matter, I don't understand why people can't get behind that. Because that's not saying white lives don't matter. What that is says, we matter as well.
Exactly. It's the I've done a lot of work in this field the past 7-8 months, and it's the draw to what is comfortable for some white folks, right? And they acknowledge that our lives matter, and I think that's the acknowledgement that we do matter, but they like to hone in on the injustice of what that means to them. So it's very easy to feel discriminated against when you've always had privilege.
Yeah.
So as soon as you start to take away that privilege from somebody, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, whoa, you're telling me that I can't say that anymore? You're telling me that now I have to kneel to support you lot? I don't kneel to you. That's offensive. It's like, understand the sentiment of it before you start saying you shouldn't. Understand that, yes, even black people realize that the BLM political side is a bit out there. It's a bit whatever you want to call it.
Ridiculous. Let's call it what it is. Ridiculous. Yeah.
But the sentiment behind it of actually we're equal, and we want to be treated fairly. We want to have equity, in everything we do and how we be treated in society. The sentiment behind what they're standing for and why football's on board in it and all this kind of stuff is truly powerful. And just get on board with the positive element. Yeah. And support people, because I'm sure you have as well. I've lost friends throughout this, right? And it's funny because you see them do stuff, and I didn't get in arguments or anything. I just messaged them and said, I no longer want to be associated with you anymore. It's as simple as that. From some of the things you're saying, I no longer want to be associated with you. Good luck with whatever you're doing, and I wish you all the very best. Yeah. And I get messages back saying, well, you're stupid, you're this, you're X, Y, and Z. That's wrong. How can you encourage people to go looting? And I'm like, I don't encourage people to go looting. No. But why is the reason behind it happening? Like, understand the reason behind it before you start, commenting. And it's interesting because, again, the series of events that happened after that, when it was the other way around, quiet as a mouse. Yeah. Silent. And that is what is deafening. And do you know what? I wish them all the best. And then what's really interesting as well is when you got friends of those friends saying, oh, they're not like that. They don't mean that. You've been friends for years. Don't worry. I'm like, no.
It's true what you said there. Like, you said at the start of that, I think you said people that have had the privilege see it as an injustice. Is that what you said? I think you said that.
Yeah. So it's privilege, isn't it? Right. So when you take away that privilege from somebody, they feel it as discrimination.
Exactly. And like, for me, for a very long time, I've grown up thinking I think everyone doesn't like me. Because I'm brown, I'm going into every relationship, whether it be work or personal, in my head 1-0 down, because I'm almost having to prove I'm all right, I'm a decent person, just because what society will tell people about me because of the way I look.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. And you get that in football, right? So you get that when you're playing. You
Yeah.
know, you get that in society for sure. You get that in work to some degrees. You know, and I think I'm in a fortunate position right now where I can affect that reality in my sphere of influence. And I always say, in my sphere of influence, you can only control what you can control. So
Yeah.
when I talk about this topic, and I've talked about it on a global platform as well with the company that I work for, it's not about trying to control those Twitter thieves and what do you call them these days, trolls and what have you, and
Trolls.
yeah, and John Smith down the corner shop, saying, "Oh, I'm going for this, and you don't deserve it. He's taking my jobs." All that nonsense. You can't control them guys, right? But what you can control is number one, your family, right? So you can
Yeah.
control that influence. You've got influence over your family, how your kids are brought up, how you interact with your partner, who supports you or doesn't support you. You can affect that and change that. The other thing that you can control is your work environment. So you can control that rhetoric, right? You can control your colleagues. You can have conversations and educate your peers. You can control the workplace you're exposed to every day. And if you try and affect those two things and change those two things, especially the work environment, that then filters out into society, because they'll go home and try and control their family, and it will trickle on, right? And then
Yeah.
you'd like to think in an ideal world that'll trickle on throughout the whole society and everything will be rosy and great, but that's just simply not going to happen. But don't get too stressed out. I learned quite quickly not to get too stressed out about Joe Blogs down the road or X, Y, and Z in London or so and so in South Africa calling me the N word, because what am I going to do? Say, oh, don't call that, you're offensive. They're just going to go, oh, we have sound N word.
Yeah.
Makes no difference, right?
But I think there becomes there's a certain maturity of being able to handle that, right? Because there's a very long time where, so believe it or not, people looking at me now, I used to be in musicals.
Wow.
Many stone ago.
Yeah.
And all the roles I ever auditioned for were always played by white people, right? I always got the black role. Never auditioned for one, but always got it.
Really?
But for a very long time, that was a chip on my shoulder. I was like, why is that happening to me? But I think it comes with a maturity. Like you just ignore them. You can control what you can control, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the thing, you can only control what you can control. You can't control anything else. So
yeah,
it does come with maturity, because back in when I was younger, I would definitely have kicked off on socials. I would have argued for days about certain things, and really let it affect me. Whereas, yet it did affect me to a certain point throughout the summer. Absolutely, it did. And at the time, I was falling into that trap. But after that, I just completely said, no, let me take that away and step away from it. And it came from a conversation actually with Nicola now. And she's triggering me because she's literally looking at me right now because she wants to make a cup of tea. And telling her she can't come in because we're recording this. So, but she went through quite a bit in the summer where, I was getting upset, getting annoyed, getting angry, focusing so much time on this topic and losing friends and all that type of stuff, right? So she was just like, you can't control all these things. You can't put all your energy into that because now it's affecting me and you. You're angry, you're upset, you're not talking to me. It's affecting me and you. So
yeah,
take a step back, take a break from it. And I was like, I can't take a break from it because this is my reality every day. You don't understand,
Yeah.
And then it took me a while to understand that journey of controlling what I can control. And then as soon as I enable myself to understand that, much better. And the results of what I have achieved so far professionally and personally speak for themselves. And I'm just dead proud of where we've come from then, certainly to where we are today and where we continue to try and push forward to.
Yeah. So last little bit, Aria, third child.
Yeah.
Planned or not planned?
Unplanned, but semi-unplanned, if that makes sense. Because so Nicola's dead maternal, right? So she could have a football team if she wanted to, right? She loves kids, and I was like, oh, I've got one over there. I've got my little white boy here. I'm absolutely fine. That's me done. I'm good. I want some time now. I want to be a Playboy again. I want to play football. I want to do this, this, this. He's 3 now. Like, leave me alone. Like, I'm done. We're done. We're happy. We've got 2. But no, you know, I always knew that she wanted more. And we kind of had that agreement where we would stop contraception, but try not to get pregnant, if that makes sense, you know? and yeah.
You know, if you go swimming, you get wet, right?
Yeah. And a little joke between my boys and stuff is that, you know, my little swimmers break down walls, right? So like, apparently I touch a girl and she's pregnant. Do you know what I mean? So like that obviously didn't work. And again, similar reaction when she told me the news for Aria as well. You know, it was funny because my reaction, we were watching Power at the time, conveniently. And my reaction was like, have you ever seen that YouTube video of that black guy and his wife when she goes to him with the pregnancy stick and he's like,
he starts crying.
Yeah, no, he's like, we old.
Oh,
is it a joke? Is it a joke? No. We old. It was literally the same thing. It's like, nah, you're joking. Don't play games. We're joking. We can't do this, Nicola. We can't do this. We're older. You know, I'm 32. You know, we're done. We're happy. We're done. What were you on about? And no, it was the truth. And yeah, it was like initial. Oh my God, we got to do this again. Late nights, early mornings, nursery fees. But you know what? Like, it soon flipped around, and yeah, she's here now, and you know, number 3, right? But then I've said to her already, checking out now, right? That's it.
How old is Aria now?
She's 3 months now.
Oh wow.
Well, she's nearly 4 months now. Well, I'm getting an indication here now. She's giving me she's nearly 4 months now. So it's one of those again. It's like Nicola will go off. She's X amount of weeks, whereas I'll just go, yeah, she's 4 months.
Yeah, I did a podcast with a guy last night called Greg, and he describes that first year as the hurt locker.
Oh God!
And he's like, they had 2 kids, pretty much one after another, and he was like, if we're gonna be in the hurt locker, let's just stay in the hurt locker, get it done. Whereas you've got well out of the hurt locker, and now you're back in it. Yeah,
it literally is, and to a degree, mate, I've been in that hurt locker 3 times, right? So yeah. She got to nearly 2. So I'm just out of that hurt locker, and then I'm jumping in again with Blake. Yeah. He got to nearly 3, and then I'm jumping back into it again with Aria, right? So because they're literally all 3 years apart. So it's just like, I must hate money, I must hate time, and I must hate sleep. Like, that's those 3 things.
What's the biggest change from going from 2 to 3, or is it too early to tell?
It was forced change, I think, because of COVID. That's the biggest change. So now, like, we have to split the time. So it probably could have been without COVID, but it's different how you split your time now between parents. So like on the morning, I'll get up with Blake most days as I can. We try and do 50-50, but most days I'll get up with him because he literally doesn't sleep that well. So he'll go to bed at 7:30 and he'll be up at between 5:30 and 7 every single day. Typically it's about 6 o'clock every single day. Yeah, so he's up all the time. And then she's breastfeeding Aria, right? So it's unfair for her to do all the nights and all this stuff. So now it's just finding that split, because I'm not working at the office anymore, so I'm at home.
Yeah.
But she's on maternity, and if Blake's not in nursery because he goes 4 days a week, not 5, when she's with 2 of them, he's chaos. It's just chaos, right? So she's exhausted. And then I'm hearing all that upstairs, and I have to come down and try and alleviate some of that pressure a little bit. But then, like this weekend, we'll have Poppy. So it'll be 3 of them.
3 of them.
You know, and you leave Nicola with 3 of them, or you leave me with 3 of them. Boy, like, it's literally chaos, mate. It's absolutely wild. And it's just like, get through it. And then when they go back, yeah, just survive that moment. Try not to put any of them down the toilet or in the bin, and just get through, you know? And I think that one of the biggest learnings I think that you probably are having, and I'm definitely having, is that whole parenting that we didn't get maybe when we were growing up, in terms of back in the day you get a smacked ass, you know, or the belt, or the trusty coat hanger is what I used to get
for me.
Yeah, you know, and And Nicola's a health visitor, right? So she is NHS health visitor, knows every single theory you can imagine. You know, you couldn't even imply that you're getting angry enough to get a slipper out, you know, because Nicola would literally, she'd get the slipper on me. Do you know what I mean? So that you just got to try and adjust in terms of the words. So Nicola's always teaching me, you know, if Blake's kicking me, don't tell him like, stop kicking me. Because I'll just go, stop kicking me now. She's like, don't say that. Say, put your feet down or put your feet over there. Give him directional feedback where I'm not used to that. So I literally just kick off where I'm like, get your feet off me now. And he's just looking at me like this, still kicking me, like, you know. So that's one of the good learnings I think that I'm going through still right now as well.
Any advice, Marcell, as we wrap up for men that have recently split up with their partners and having to adjust to life, you know, in that post relationship, but with a child?
Yeah, 100%. I think the biggest piece of advice I give any dad in that situation is believe in yourself. You can do it. Number one, right? Try and keep as much of an amicable relationship as you can with your ex-partner. Every situation is different, but remember that it's not about you two, it's about the kid, right? So it's about your son or your daughter. That's the main thing. And as long as you're there to provide, if you've got the mentality that you want to provide for your kid and you want to be in their life, you'll make it work. You know, it's a very scary reality that for me, going on my own and figuring out that kind of journey. But my advice would be just to believe in yourself. You've got somebody there that loves you and will need you in their life for the whole of their life, not just for these next few early years or something. Or you can't just drop back in at 9 years old. You have to be there. Yeah, to be there. And that's my biggest advice for somebody is just believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself and you have the love for your child, you'll make it work, whatever. Yeah,
and that's right. What you said, you can't just drop in at 9. I mean, my dad dropped in at 31.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work because, you know, I'm a man by then, and I've said this before, you know, where he starts to call you son, and it's just weird.
Yeah,
it was never gonna work. But yeah, try and keep in the present as much as you can, I guess.
Absolutely. I know the final thing as well, because men, we're dogs, right? We get single and we're like Facebook Messenger, Tinder, Plenty of Fish, you know.
Where's the calendar for all the birthdays?
Literally, you get your little black book out and you're scrolling through Shaniqua, Denise, Lauren, they're all married, you know, and you think, well, bloody hell, where am I going? And the one thing I'm quite fortunate because I was quite mentally strong at this point, but one thing I'd advise any man is if you do meet, and you was asking me this question about do you lie about your child and stuff, but the one thing I'd always do is never go into another relationship where you know that woman isn't fully supportive of your situation and your child. Yeah. Because I've seen that happen to some of my boys before, and they've been, let's say, pussy drunk and gone and had that relationship with a woman over their kids and then regretted it. So don't get drawn in, because if they're not willing to support you at this moment in time, they're not worthy to be in your life.
Yeah. We're sort of experiencing that from a different angle in our family at the moment. So my little sister is having to take on her cousin's 2 kids because she's chose a boyfriend who's a convicted paedophile in prison.
Oh, wow.
So the social services have had to say, we're taking the kids off you. But to my sister's having to take them on. So yeah, choosing somebody over your kids.
Wow.
I don't know how anyone could do that.
No, neither do I. But it happens, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, that's my advice anyway.
Any more kids?
Mate, don't ask me that question. I say no, but these things down here, they've got a mind of their own, mate. You know, Blake came through contraception. We were on contraception and Blake came through, like, so I've got the Avengers down here, mate. Like, there could be at least a squad coming down as well, you know. So, oh God, I want to say no, but you know, who knows what the future holds? Let's just say that.
Yeah. Listen, Marcell, it's been brilliant catching up with you, mate, and hopefully see you again once we're allowed out and back to reality, and we'll try and get Chill Out Corner back together.
Absolutely, mate. I look forward to that. Look forward to it. Let's get the other one involved, right? So definitely, mate. But listen, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and I hope I've given you enough good content there.
Yeah, of course, mate.
No worries, man. Take care, yeah.